Welcome, everyone. I'm joined here today by my friend Alejandro and also Jose Barreto, who is a CEO of Glendale Parade Store, which he came upon with his search fund, Clotho Holdings. And today we're going to learn about what a search fund is all about and how that can lead entrepreneurs to manage and grow a company. And I just want to also mention that Alejandro and I met through the Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting because we both like to study one of the best investors, Warren Buffett. And Alejandro, could you just tell us also how you met Jose? And then I'll ask Jose about himself.
Hello, thanks again for having me. It's been a long time. Um, it was lucky we were both walking our dogs and we were in the same neighborhood. And lucky enough, we both like business and we are both from Colombia. So it's funny that I don't really know how many miles apart, but we both were born in the same city and we find ourselves in the path. So it was a pretty nice um hit of life, I guess.
And Jose, tell us a little about you. How did you grow up wanting to become an entrepreneur and a little bit about your career journey, if you wouldn't mind sharing?
Sure, 100%. Thank you so much for inviting me, Michelle. And Alejandro, thank you so much for this connection. A bit about me. So I was essentially, I'm an American citizen born in the US, but raised in Colombia, in Bogota. When I was in school, I always wanted to come back to the United States and become an entrepreneur ever since I was very little. What ultimately happened was when I was about 17, I decided to come back to the States to the University of Miami. I didn't have money to attend so I decided to enlist in the United States Air Force Reserve as a vehicle operator. While I was there, I learned a lot about logistics, managing individuals, inspiring people. I actually deployed twice to Afghanistan and to Oman as a vehicle operator. Upon my graduation, I went to work for Citibank in the Treasury Trades Department in the ICG. So what that the institutional clients group, and I did a couple of rotations learning a lot about sales, cash management, and just overall general treasury practices. While I was there, I really honed into sales, and I really enjoyed that. So I lived 6.5 years in New York, and between the military and city, two very giant corporations, what I was lacking was that entrepreneurship ideal that just craved. So when I deployed again to Iraq, I realized, hey, I need to do something. And that something was I wanted to do my MBA. So I was lucky enough to get admitted into Harvard Business School with the idea of opening my entrepreneurship and opening a brand new idea. While I was there, I discovered what ETA was, entrepreneurship through acquisition. So essentially, that is a search fund model. And what it is, in a nutshell, and we're going to go to that, but I decided, hey, I want to do this. I want to become an entrepreneur, but I want to manage a company that already exists, that doesn't have that high level of risk, but whose owner might be retiring very soon. They have a very solid cash flow, a very solid EBITDA. I know Warren Buffett doesn't like EBITDA, but I'm going to throw it out there. Has a very solid EBITDA, doesn't have a lot of capex, and I could buy it at a good price. I can put some leverage into it, and if I'm lucky enough, I can maybe sell it for a certain amount of money, and I would be very, very well off. And that's what ETA is, and that's what the ETA Club at Harvard Business School, at Stanford, um, primarily teach, and same as all the other MBAs. With the bad fortune that I graduated in 2020, and I was again deployed to Kuwait. So I had to pause my search for a bit. And then on 2022, I launched my search from Tampa. That's where I met Alejandro, walking our dogs, because I was very, very, very stressed out trying to find a company to acquire. And yeah, I acquired Glendale Parade Store in June 26th of 2023. And I've been operating as its CEO for about a year now. And yeah, it's a hell of a ride. So I'm living the entrepreneurship life and the real deal right now, Michelle. So that's my background.
Awesome. Wow. And I mean, there's so much we want to get into. And I know Alejandro has the next main question, but just a quick follow-up. What does Glendale Parade Store do?
Thank you so much. So, also, I forgot to mention, I'm still in the military, so I'm still a captain in the Air Force. And why is this important? Because Glendale is the perfect fit. So talk about a good entrepreneurship company fit. What we do is we sell to police, to military, GROTCs and ROTCs of the honor guard items, meaning flag stands, flag belts, special custom designed shoulder cords. But we're very well known for our swords, so we sell all of the approved WKC swords for the military, for the United States military, and we manufacture our own drill rifles, which are not a rifle that can fire anything to anybody. They just weigh the exact same amount that an actual M1000 or a DA 1903 would weigh, Second World War rifles, that we use to present the colors in the United States. So Glendale manufactures these. And we sell a ton of little things. We have over 17,000 SKUs, and we primarily serve first responders, military, ROTCs, GROTCs. Talk about a niche market right there.
Yeah, and it sounds like a wonderful fit, like that you blended your military career with your career as an entrepreneur. So I just want to say thank you so much for your service.
Thank you so much for making it a country worth serving, Michelle.
So Alejandro, I'll let you take the next question.
Hey, Jose, so I always, we talk about this a couple of times, but you having like such a promising career, being graduated from such a great school, and maybe having like a path more that you could tell how it was going to be, why you decide to switch that path and take a more, could say, risky way of living when you have kind of like the path to just walk and grow pretty fast and steady without having much doubt in your life. Why do you took that change of path?
Great question. And great question right now, especially after a year being on the hot seat of a small business. So it boils down for two reasons. A personal reason, which is made out of beliefs, and that is I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to have the opportunity to put my vision, my direction, and my goals and a group of individuals and motivate them to achieve that goal, receiving a profit. You can do that in the military all day long, but you're not going to receive a profit. It's a lot better when you start seeing that P&L actually grow and those tickers happen. It's really hard in a big corporation like Citi. Yes, you can make it, but it's complicated because it's such a bureaucratic system that you need so many approvals, and it's really hard to move an iceberg. Moving Glendale, it's like moving a little sailboat. I can move it in the direction that I want to. With the second aspect, which is the risk. It's a high risk item. It's challenging, it's hard. It is very, very hard. It's not easy at all. In any way, shape, or form, it's easy. But the beauty of it is with high risk comes high reward. Let's talk about money, right? If you are an employee in a company, you have your stable salary, and yeah, you can get some stock options. When you become an entrepreneur, the risk is yours, but so is the reward. So with the search fund model, I have the possibility of attaining 25% equity of my company with investing $0. So it's all sweat equity. And if you look at the dynamics of the company, I would much rather take 25% of a small company than 0.00001% of a behemoth that you have no direction or movement opportunity. So I think that that's where the differentiator is.
And how does the search fund work? How did you find either investors or financiers who helped you find a company that you could be the CEO of and manage and grow? Like, how does some of that work?
Very valid question. So to open up a search fund, what ultimately happens is there are a group of investors. So there's two ways to do a search. You can do a solo search or you can do a traditional search. A solo or self-funded search will be you as an individual decide, hey, I want to go and look for a small company. But you don't have certain ranges. And what you will do is you will take an SBA loan to finance or to leverage that company. Now, a small business loan is up to $5 million, and they have a lot of requirements on what that EBITDA will be. And the chances of you tripping a wire with some of the covenants are also very, very high. So that risk is higher. You could also find some search fund investors that are out there. The best way to find this will be you can go to searchfunder.com and you can find some investors there. You can also find investors by Googling search funds and finding all of the search fund investors. They're very well known. Some of them do like to invest on self-funded searchers, meaning you pay for your own expenses, you find the company, you get the financing, and then you go and get the equity that you need to close the deal. What I did is more of the traditional route. In order to go as a traditional searcher, what you do is once you graduate from an MBA or you get introduced by a former searcher, or you can actually introduce yourself to all these investors, you will need a PPM, so your perspectives. So you'll create a perspectives, you'll circulate it among some of the accredited investors that know how to invest in a search fund to raise a small capital. That small capital depends. You can do partnered search or solo search. If you're doing a solo search, you can raise anywhere between 500,000. With the 500,000 that you will raise, you will pay yourself a salary. You can pay yourself for analysts and for a tech stack. You're going to need it because you're going to be emailing a ton of people or calling or knocking on doors. You also need it for quality of earnings. So with that $500,000, let's say that you raise, what you owe to that close group of investors is the following. You owe them first right of refusal. So if you find a company that you really like, that it's a great company, you can only show it to them first. 2, you owe them 1.5 pari passu, which means it's a step up of 1.5. So if I raised $500,000, I need to return them in kind 750,000. That can be done either in equity of the company that I acquired or as a cash out upon the acquisition of the company. And then all of the investors will have a pick. So they have, rather than becoming common stock members, they have preferred equity, normally at a payment in kind of 8.5. So throughout the investment cycle. So whatever funding they actually invest on equity or in the original search amount that you raised will be preferred equity at an 8.5 return.
And within what time frame do you need to return that investment to the investors?
So the normal timing, once you raise the actual fund, for let's say you raise your fund to search as a traditional searcher, there's no compromise. The average search takes around 2 years. You can close down your search fund and there's no harm, no foul because they're accredited investors. Once you do an acquisition, that acquisition normally has a lifetime between 5 years to 7 years. That's where they expect to receive the returns. So let's say I raise $500,000, I go searching, I don't find anything, Michelle. I'm like, man, this sucks. I couldn't find any company. At that moment, I don't owe him anything. I'll return whatever money I have, and that's about it. No harm, no foul. Let's say I do acquire a business, and they are part of this business. They expect me to close or to unwind within seven years.
Wow. All right. So you have some runway though. It's hopefully not as much pressure as say maybe a small business loan where the time of the loan duration is a lot shorter of a window from what I've heard.
Correct. And so, for example, but normally, so let's say, for example, if you look at the structure of Glendale, when I acquired my company, I acquired it with leverage, which was from a bank, so a senior loan. Then I asked the owners who wanted to sell, who were older gentlemen that just wanted to retire, I asked them for a seller's note. Also to have some skin in the game. Some people ask for rollover equity. Some people will ask for an earnout. At least you want to have 20% of that enterprise value tied in. Why? Because of the lemons dilemma. I don't know if what they're selling me is lemons. And sure enough, right? So let's say I have about 50% leveraged, part of it with a senior loan, subordinated seller's note, and then the rest of it will be equity. So there's still some covenants that I need to make sure that I meet, but they're going to be far less. My covenants of enterprise value to loan or service covenants are fairly small compared to if I just had 90% leverage, where, man, I drop a little bit in my EBITDA and I am literally sweating bullets right now.
Wow. So I want to let Alejandro take the next question.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, so the more I read about entrepreneurs and things, I feel the most important part is like the grit that you need for getting better and making your goal successful. So the more I understand this aspect, I think you need like grit way more than just being smart and being like having the right idea or the right product. But you done it, so I believe it's very important to hear what you think about this. Like for somebody that maybe wants to start a search fund, I mean, they probably think, oh, I have great ideas or I have great businesses. But what do you think as a person you need? Like, what do you think is, I mean, obviously you need a lot of things, but what do you think is the most valuable trait that you need as a person, and a trait that, I mean, you cannot miss, like you have to have to be successful?
Passion. That's what you need. Straight up passion for what you're going to get into, whether it is a search or whether you're an entrepreneur. If you do not like the industry or the service you're getting into, quit, stop, rethink, return, go and look at it again. There's multiple ways to make money, thousands of ways to make money. But when you're an entrepreneur or when you're searching for the right business, you want to find a business, or you want to be in a business that you can go to bed thinking about, you can sleep thinking about it, you can wake up and still think about it, you go to bed and you think about it. You think about it all day long. It is really important that you like what you do. Because if you do not like what you do, you can be the most diligent person in the world. You're just not going to make it, because it is so tough. Your employees, you need to motivate them. You need to motivate them to sell whatever widgets or produce whatever widgets they need to do it. And they need to have a purpose, not only a paycheck. And you're the person they look to. You need to think creatively about the industry, understand who the players are and how to maneuver it. And if you don't have passion for it, you're not going to think about it. You're just going to go home and rest. So what I can tell you is, and I love what I do. I love it because it's the military. I relate to it. I'm happy. I sell swords for a living. I'm the happiest person in the world. But it has to be that correlation. Passion is the number one thing. Then I would say hard work. But passion, you need to like what you do. It's going to be very hard for any entrepreneur to go into a business and just say, like, it's okay, I just like doing it. It's really, really tough.
So yeah,
go ahead.
So yeah, to follow up a little. So yeah, I think yeah, what you say is very, very important. I mean, you do it more for the passion than for the money. Like to use.
And you need to, there's 1,000 ways to make money. You can make money anyway. There's some good ways to make money, there's bad ways to make money. But if you're gonna go through the entrepreneurship route, or the route of a searcher, where you're gonna take something that already exists and try to make it bigger, you need to really enjoy it. And I think that if you look at some of the most successful CEOs, they really enjoy what they do. And I think that that's the key.
Okay.
And it sounds like you have a lot of conviction about this kind of business. Like, how did you know that you were going to like this business? Like, how would you know that it's going to be successful or that you can grow it beyond where it is? Like some businesses might plateau, at a certain point. Like how do you come upon the belief that you can do something with it more, like maybe more than the previous managers or owners of the business? Like, how do you know you can bring something more to the table than what a business already is?
So very valid question. And I think that it ultimately derives when you find out is through the quality of earnings. So when you're about to buy a business, it's the same as when you're creating your business model. A lot of people just, or when I was in business school and people talked about this, I'm like, whatever, you dismiss it. But that's the secret sauce, because when you're in the weeds, grinding for 3 months, trying to understand the business or trying to come up with the idea for a business, you are immersed on it. You're reading everything that comes in. You have a Google feed that says, hey, boom, this is in your industry. You consume it. If after 2 weeks, you say like, oh my God, I hate this. Or if you go and you talk to investors and you go to a trade show and you walk around the trade show and you talk to other owners and you're like, oh my God, I hate these people. I don't see myself here. That's the biggest telltale sign. But when you hit it off and you just talk the talk and you cannot wait to learn more and move, that's for me the tell sign. Maybe it's my fault, but for me, my biggest thing is I'm hard. I'm a very passionate person, but I'm also like I wear my heart in my sleeve. So if I like it, you can tell it. I give props to some CEOs of those giant corporations that switch from industry to industry to industry to industry. Man, it has to be really, really hard because it's unplugging from something and replugging. And that is very tough. As a CEO, how you think you can do it better is if you dedicate some time to understand the industry, you're always going to find corners of where there's a deficiency, where there could be something that you could do better. And then that is the corners you want to exploit. How do you exploit them? You need to put some cash to it. And that's the difficulty because you have little assets, but you need to make gambles. Smart, fast, dedicated gambles to see if they bite. If they bite, you proceed. If not, you do a U-turn. You kill them fast, but you understand why you're making that gamble. And that's how I think you do better than anybody else. In the military, we call it an OODA loop. Some pilots are going to hate it. So you observe, you orient, you decide, and you act. And you do that constantly, fast. You do your OODA loops fast. All right, this is missing. Let's see if we can make it. We made it. Did we sell? We didn't sell. Let's get out. And I think that that's the key. The second key is technology. So the generation that we're buying businesses from do business in a very antiquated way. When we come in, just to give you an example, when I bought the business, we were using checks as our payable situation, and we were using QuickBooks Desktop from God knows when. Yeah, it saves costs significantly in little ways, but it's so complicated. Nobody wants to do business with you. So I came in, QuickBooks Online, better method of payment. I can take more of my accounts payable days and use it better than a check that I don't know if it's going to get there. But then secondly, it's going to be a great opportunity for just finding efficiencies and moving fast. And I think that the mix between technology, making decisions fast, and swift, educated decisions, that is the key sauce of how you flank and how you grow a business.
Awesome.
So just in like getting a little out of your industry, how you think about business, what do you look into like a promising business? What is important for you, and where do you find the moat? And like this again is probably for an advice for people to have in mind when, let's say, they decide to, I don't know, start a business, open a little shop. So what is your key factor there? Culture, certain product, you just build into it?
That's a good question. The biggest things that I was looking at, especially as a brand new CEO, is margins. Why? Because if I have, and again, I'm sorry, EBITDA, I talk about EBITDA all the time, but if I have an EBITDA margin that is a good EBITDA margin, and I make a mistake as a brand new CEO, let's say I have a 12% EBITDA margin, and I make a 2% mistake, it's not going to destroy my business. If I have a 6% EBITDA margin, and I make a 2% mistake, which they're very easy to make, let me tell you that, I just eroded one third of my operated income. If I did that on a 12% EBITDA margin business, I can still survive. Yeah, it hurts, but I'm okay. So that's number one, strong EBITDA margins. Reoccurring revenue. Not all revenue is the same. There's three types of revenue. There's reoccurring revenue, there's contractual reoccurring revenue, and then you have just transactional revenue. You want that reoccurrence. Customers will always tell you what's right. If customers come over and over and over and over again, there is something good about that company. But when you have a churn rate that is significantly high, you might have a leaky bucket. And leaky buckets are really, really hard to plunge. So if you're looking for a business to buy, you want to look at that revenue. You want to look at that churn. You want to look at those margins. As fast as competitors go and competitive modes, I like businesses that have niches, competitive modes, that not a lot of people are going to get into them. Why? Because in the niches are the richest. Well, that's a saying, but apart from that little saying, is if you're in a niche, it means that it's so technical that you can become technical as well. And if you reach that level of technicality, very few people are going to go and do the homework to try to get in. And especially in a business that has a niche, high margins, and that they have good recurring revenue because they have a good client base and a good reputation, you're solid. Finally, I love looking at culture. I love looking at, okay, what was my retention rate of employees? If my retention rate was poor, that means there's something rotten. Most people like to work for something that they truly like or that they are in tune with. If not, they're going to quit. And so I think that that's really important to understand. So those would be my advices that I would give somebody.
That's incredible. Thank you for that. And where do you see yourself in 20 to 30 years?
Good question. I honestly do not know. I'm probably returning back to Florida at some point. I do miss Florida. Nothing against Texas. Texas is a great state, but I miss the ocean way too much. And I really come to enjoy the beautiful beaches of Florida. So my wife and I also absolutely adore Florida. So that's where I see myself. I've ran this business and I hope to run it for another 6 or more years. And I've truly enjoyed it. I would love to take a head of an investor at some point and actually be able to invest in search funds. Small search funders, maybe veterans that want to go ahead and do this. I would love to be able to support.
That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's great that you, as a member of the military, are helping fellow veterans. Like, I think I used to work at a Veterans Affair, so I greatly appreciate that you're also trying to help veterans as well. So that's really awesome. And I just want to be mindful of some of our remaining time together. Alejandro, what might be some of your last questions for Jose for today?
No, I think I'm done with the questions. I greatly appreciate your time, Jose, as we talk. One thing I think is a great advice for entrepreneurs, and I think that you have is that you have the grit, you have the attitude of not making excuses, which I think is a very common mistakes that we have as human. We always say that we don't get things because this and this and just get excuses. But I know from knowing you that you are the type of person that He's not like that. He's just always looking for the answer, looking, okay, yeah, we have this problem, but we want to put it and solve it, which I think is the biggest, yeah, I mean, one of the biggest mistakes we have on human, and probably one of the biggest advantage you have over most of us, because I am included. So thank you very much for your time. And yeah, those are my last words. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Alejandro. So, Jose, would you have any last closing thoughts? And I'm sure our audience will have questions. So if anyone has questions, is it all right if someone were to reach out to you?
Sure, 100%. Open book. Like my biggest advice, and this is something that I hold dear, is essentially, well, it's a quote from Roosevelt, and it from not Teddy, from Theodore Roosevelt, and it said, "Far better is to dare mighty things, win glorious triumphs, even to be checkered by failure, than to rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy nor suffer much because they live in a great twilight that knows neither victory nor defeat." Do it. Give it a shot. Just give it a shot. Give it your best shot out there. Because 9 out of 10, you're going to hit it. And if you don't hit it, it's okay. You're going to learn. You're going to be even better. And next time that you hit it again, you're going to be even better. That's my biggest advice. Try, try, try.
Wow. I felt some goosebumps from just how inspirational you sound. And I'm so grateful that Alejandro and I could learn from you, Jose. You're a great role model and inspiration to a lot of us out there who are trying to become better investors and learn about business. And I think this has been incredible. So thank you so much for your time. And I hope for all the best for Glendale and your team and everyone at your company. It's incredible to have learned from you today.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for inviting me and for the amazing channel that you run. Michelle and Alejandro, thank you for the amazing conversations, man, and for bending your ear from time to time about all this business savvy terms. So thank you so much for absolutely everything. And it was a pleasure talking to you guys.
Thank you, Jose. We'll talk again. Till next time.
Take care. Bye-bye.